hip dips are not a fat problem. They are a muscle architecture problem. The gluteus medius, the muscle that sits directly above the hip joint, is rarely trained correctly in standard gym programming. Most women have spent years working their glutes with hip thrusts, cable kickbacks, and leg presses, yet that dent on the side of the hip refuses to fill. Here's why, and here is the Soviet method that fixes it with 10 minutes of distributed work spread across your entire day, no gym required. In the 1970s, Soviet military coaches faced a specific problem. Their soldiers needed to perform extraordinary numbers of pull-ups, not once per week on pull-up day, but on demand, anytime, under any conditions. The solution they developed contradicted every assumption about how strength is built. Instead of one brutal weekly session, they distributed the training across the entire day. 5 reps in the morning, 5 reps an hour later, 5 reps at midday, never reaching fatigue, never trained to failure, just constant, clean, fresh repetition from sunrise to lights out. The result was a nervous system so thoroughly trained in that movement pattern that pull-up capacity increased faster than any conventional program could produce. The muscle did not grow first. The neural pathway deepened first, and once the signal from the brain to the muscle became faster and stronger, more fibers began firing on every rep. The size followed the signal. That principle, built for soldiers pulling themselves over walls, transfers directly to the gluteus medius. The same mechanism, the same method, a completely different target. What Soviet coaches understood, and what most modern fitness programming ignores, is that strength is a skill before it is a physical attribute. Skills are built through repetition at low fatigue, not through exhaustion. The nervous system learns what you consistently practice. Practice hip abduction fresh 3 times a day, and your nervous system becomes extraordinarily efficient at recruiting your gluteus medius. The biology is identical to the pull-up protocol. The only variable is the movement. 1 glute day per week does not give your side glute enough stimulus to grow. This is the architectural flaw in standard programming that keeps hip dips in place for years. When you train the gluteus medius once every 7 days, you are giving it a single signal and then leaving the neural pathway dormant for 6 days. The signal fades, the pathway weakens. The muscle has no reason to adapt because the demand is not consistent enough to register as a survival requirement. The second problem is fatigue. When the gluteus medius is trained at the end of a leg session, which is where most women train it, if at all, it is already competing for neural resources with every muscle that fired during squats and lunges beforehand. The signal reaching the glute medius is weaker, slower, and noisier. You feel a burn, you assume it's working, but a burn produced by a fatigued, neurologically depleted muscle produces far less hypertrophic signal than the same exercise performed fresh. Soviet coaches called this the difference between practicing strength and practicing fatigue. Grease the Groove solves both problems simultaneously. It distributes 10 small sets across the day, each one performed fresh, each one technically perfect, so the neural pathway to the gluteus medius gets carved deeper with every single pass. By the end of the day, you have sent 10 high-quality recruitment signals to a muscle that normally receives 1 poor-quality signal per week. Over 30 days, that's the difference between 300 clean neural drives and 4 fatigued ones. Frequency beats intensity for a muscle that has been neurologically neglected. The neuroscience principle behind Grease the Groove is expressed in a single phrase: neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time a neural pathway is activated, the myelin sheath around that pathway thickens slightly. Myelin is the insulating layer that makes electrical signals travel faster. More myelin means a faster signal. A faster signal means more muscle fibers receive the recruitment command before the contraction is already underway. More fibers firing simultaneously means more force and more mechanical tension in a muscle that previously had a slow, thin neural connection to the brain. For the gluteus medius specifically, This matters more than almost any other muscle in the lower body. The glute medius is neurologically underused in most women because dominant program movements such as bilateral squats, hip thrusts, and leg press do not require it to work at full capacity. Isolation work performed once per week gives it a stimulus it is not neurologically prepared to respond to. Frequent, fresh practice changes the neural architecture first. The muscle density and the visual fill of the hip dip follow automatically. The mechanism in plain terms, frequent low-fatigue repetition thickens the neural pathway to the gluteus medius. A thicker pathway sends faster signals. Faster signals recruit more fibers. More fibers recruited per contraction means more mechanical tension, and more tension sustained over weeks means more muscle laid down exactly where the hip dip sits. The hip dip is not a fat problem, it's a neural access problem. Grease the groove solves it at the source. All 4 movements are performed 2 to 3 times distributed across the day, never to fatigue, always fresh. This is not a circuit, it's a frequency protocol. Each session takes under 3 minutes. Exercise 1. Side-lying hip abduction. The side-lying hip abduction is the foundation of this protocol. Lie on your side with your body in a straight line, hips stacked, legs straight, bottom arm extended. Lift the top leg slowly to approximately 45 degrees, pause for 1 second at the top, and lower with complete control over 3 seconds. The key technical detail: your pelvis must not rotate. The only moment your top hip rolls backwards to assist the lift, the glute medius disengages and the hip flexors take over. Keep the top hip pressed forward throughout the entire movement. 10 reps performed 2 to 3 times across the day, never approaching fatigue. Exercise 2. Standing banded abduction. The standing banded abduction adds light resistance without compromising the frequency principle. Loop a light band just above the knees. Stand feet hip-width apart, one hand on a wall for balance. Drive one knee directly outward against the band, squeezing the gluteus medius at the end range. Hold for 1 second, return under control. The band should be light enough that 10 reps feel clean and controlled, not exhausting. The goal is not intensity, it's the signal quality. 10 reps per side, 3 times across the day. Exercise 3. Single leg glute bridge. The single leg glute bridge targets the gluteus medius through its stabilization function, the role it performs during every single leg movement in daily life and sport. Lie on your back with one foot flat on the floor, the other leg extended straight. Drive through the grounded heel and lift your hips until your body forms a straight line from shoulder to knee. The pelvis must stay level. If the free hip drops, the glute medius on the working side is failing to stabilize. Hold the top position for 2 seconds, lower slowly. 10 reps per side, twice per day. Exercise 4. Clamshell hold, isometric finisher. The clamshell hold is the isometric finisher. Lie on your side with hips bent to 45 degrees and knees bent to 90 degrees, heels together. Rotate the top knee upward as far as possible without letting the pelvis rock. Then hold that position for 30 seconds. Do not pulse. Hold the end range and breathe. 30 seconds of sustained end range contraction forces every available fiber in the gluteus medius to fire simultaneously. This is grease the groove, which applied a sustained recruitment signal at low systemic fatigue 2 to 3 times across the day. The Soviet soldier did not train for pull-ups to exhaustion once per week and wait for strength to appear. He practiced the movement, clean and controlled, throughout every waking hour until the nervous system had no choice to adapt. The gluteus medius responds to exactly the same logic. You do not have a hip dip because you are not training hard enough. You have a hip dip because you are not training frequently enough, and because the neural pathway to that muscle has never been given enough clean repetitions to deepen. That pathway is what this protocol builds. Start this today. 2 sessions of all 4 movements. Tomorrow, add 3. Build gradually to 10 sets distributed across your day. Give it 30 days of consistent frequency, and the muscle architecture of your hip will begin to change in ways that no single weekly glute session has ever produced. Subscribe and drop a comment below. How many times across your day can you realistically fit these sets in?